Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Joanne Smedley, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Midshipman Fox Cassidy. We warmly welcome the family of Second Lieutenant Ian George Mathers, whose story will be told shortly. We also warmly welcome Second Lieutenant Ian Mathers' former classmates and fellow graduates from Class 170 Officer Training Unit at Skyville, and representatives of the ACT chapter of the Officer Training Unit Association, and Mr. Gordon Richardson, a veteran of the Second World War. Gordon served in the Royal Australian Air Force as a leading aircraftman in the Pacific at Milne Bay, Finschhafen, Numfor, and the Admiralty Islands and Morotai. We thank you all for your service. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you are able, please stand and join in the singing of the National Anthem.
Australians, all let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is girt by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty rich and rare. In history's page let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains that let us sing, advance Australia fair.
The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Second Lieutenant Ian George Mathers. Ian Mathers was born on the 3rd of January 1949 in Brisbane, the son of George and Olive Mathers. He grew up in the suburb of Corinda and attended Brisbane Grammar School. His daily walk to school took him past St John's Cathedral, and from an early age he decided he wanted to become a choir boy. He had a fine voice and was accepted to become a chorister, becoming head chorister by the time he turned 14. When his voice broke, Ian left the choir, but still returned to the church to visit his friends and pray. After completing his studies at Brisbane Grammar, Ian was accepted to study economics by Sydney University. He moved to the harbour city and initially resided at St Paul's Residential College, later moving into a share house in the suburb of Greenwich. During his time at university, Ian also held a cadetship with CSR. Outside of study and work, Ian returned to Brisbane as often as he could to spend time with his family and friends, and to return to St John's. He had a love of sport and enjoyed swimming and squash, but his particular passion was for rugby union. He played for the Sydney University team and gained his credentials as a referee. Ian graduated with a Bachelor of Economics degree in 1969 and, having deferred his call-up for national service while studying, entered the Australian Army in late January 1970. He was accepted for training as an officer and in mid-February was sent to Officer Training Unit Skyville, where he became a member of Class 170. With his suave manner and ever-present sunglasses, Mathers' classmates gave him the nickname 007. Mathers and his class graduated from Skyville on the 15th of July 1970, receiving commissions as second lieutenants. He was sent to the School of Artillery at North Head in Sydney and undertook an intensive training program, firstly as an artillery section commander and then artillery forward observer. Mathers was informed in October that he would be posted to 12 Field Regiment, Royal Australian Artillery in South Vietnam. His final course was a 3-week battle efficiency course conducted at Land Warfare Centre, Canberra, in November. At the start of December, Mathers returned to Brisbane for 2 weeks of leave, which he spent with his family and friends. He flew out from Sydney on the 23rd of December and after a stopover in Darwin, arrived in Saigon the following day. In early June 1971, intelligence reports pointed to the return of 33 Regiment People's Army of Vietnam and D445 Provincial Mobile Battalion to Phoc Tuy Province from their base in Long Can Province. Aware of the enemy movement, the Australians launched Operation Overlord. On the 5th of June, the force deployed by helicopter and armoured personnel carrier. 3 RAR took the lead in patrolling, while 4 RAR New Zealand and American troops held blocking positions to trap enemy forces. Australian tanks and artillery were also in support. During the afternoon, on the 6th of June, 5 platoon, B Company, 3 RAR located an enemy bunker system. As daylight was fading, the platoon commander withdrew his men, experiencing several minor contacts on the way out. The advance resumed at 6:30 a.m. after half an hour of preparatory artillery fire. Platoon led off and had advanced some 90 metres when it came under fire from well-concealed enemy bunkers. The platoon suffered several casualties and called for artillery and air support. Mathers and Lance Bombardier Peter Marr, who had been attached to B Company 3 RAR for the operation, soon brought a heavy concentration of artillery fire onto the enemy positions. Australian and US helicopter gunships also provided support. This constant weight of fire prevented the enemy from overrunning the Australian platoon. Mathers went forward to 5 platoon to better direct artillery fire. Platoon Commander Lieutenant Graham Kells warned Mathers about the dangers of doing this. Mathers was shot and killed soon after, the 8th and final graduate of OTU Skyville to be killed in Vietnam. The battle continued for more than 8 hours before the enemy withdrew. The Australians suffered a further 2 deaths when a RAF helicopter was shot down during a resupply mission. 6 other Australians were also wounded. Ian Mathers' funeral was conducted at St John's Cathedral in Brisbane with full military honours. The church was at capacity. The head chorister laid his medallion of office on the flag-draped coffin, which was also adorned by Mathers' service cap and sword. Ian Mathers was laid to rest in the Mount Thompson Crematorium in Brisbane. He was 22 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, along with more than 500 others who died as a result of their service during the Vietnam War. A photograph which was taken at his OTU Skyville graduation in July 1970 is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. In this photograph, Ian Mathers can be seen among family members, his father George, his sister Carol, and her young son Paul. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Second Lieutenant Ian George Mathers, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over, but in Australia they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening.